Reported nearly 18,000 new COVID-19 infections yesterday alone. Now more than a dozen testing centers are temporarily shutting down. CityMD is one of them. They say they want to preserve their staff because the staff is getting sick as they see a spike in demand. Also want to point out that the NYPD, the cops that keep us safe, 8% of them called out sick. More than 300 have COVID. Joe Borelli is the New York City Council Minority Leader, and he joins us now. Joe, good to see you.
You too, Lauren.
This is disappointing. This is where we are with this virus, and we have seen a lot of restrictions right here in New York City. Are we about to see more?
Yeah, very soon the city's vaccine mandate for private employers goes into effect, and companies are going to have to make the choice whether they want to terminate employees for refusing to be vaccinated or perhaps give them some sort of medical accommodation. But you're right. I mean, this is a moment in time where we're seeing an uptick in cases, but there's no crisis. And yet the mayor of this city is continuing to push mandates and restrictions as though there is a crisis. And at some point, the credibility of elected leaders is going to be called into question when every time there's a new variant, they make these knee-jerk reactions and the death count and the hospitalizations just don't add up to a problem.
What happens to the iconic ball drop in Times Square on New Year's Eve?
Well, I think they're going to have some restrictions in place in terms of capacity limits and things like that. I think it still happens. I think people are still willing to party. I think tourists who still want to come to New York are really eager to see the ball drop and hopefully visit some restaurants and do other exciting things.
That's the thing, though. If you're a tourist, because the rules keep on changing and you spend all this money and time and testing to get here, and then things start closing down as you're here, that's got to be the most disappointing thing ever.
Well, especially, Lauren, if you're coming from Europe where people 5 to 11 aren't approved for vaccines yet. So that almost bars any person coming from the EU from going to a show, going to a restaurant, or going to anything in which the mayor requires a vaccine mandate. So you have people reaching out to my office and to other elected officials in the city begging to know how and why they would even still come here if they're not able to participate in the normally fun New York things around this time of year.
I didn't even think about that. That's such a good point. So, Joe, how are other cities preparing for Omicron?
Look, I mean, other cities are probably doing as good, if not a better job than us. I mean, if your city's led by Republicans, probably best of all. But if your city's led by a mayor who's not just so focused on making mandates and restrictions, your city's probably in a much better place. You had Michael Dowling, the CEO of Northwell Health, the largest healthcare provider in the state and probably the region. He was on another show yesterday just talking about how Omicron is not a crisis. Their system only has 450, I think that he said, patients in hospitals, whereas during the peak of Delta and during the peak of the initial wave, they had thousands upon thousands of people crowding the wards. So we have to react as though we have to react in terms of reality and not the perception of what's happening.
It seems like the New York Times, Joe, is actually listening. I mean, I'm going to read 2 headlines today. Omicron is just beginning, and Americans are already tired. Another one. Omicron will surge despite Biden's new plan, experts say. So you just had that palpable feeling of, you know what, enough is enough, stop the panic. Joe, I got another one for you. 800,000 non-citizens just got the green light to vote in local elections in New York City. Where do you stand on this?
Well, not if I have anything to say about it, because we'll be starting our legal challenges to this. New York State has a constitution, like every other state, which allows citizens the right to vote. And other states are now pushing legislation to limit voting to citizens. Our state already has had that. We have a statute of election law already on the books, which requires citizenship to vote in elections all over the state. So it really is unfortunate that the city council and the mayor acted in outright defiance of our state constitution. So we'll be challenging this in court. We're not going to let this go. These people are not non-citizens, Lauren. These people are foreign citizens. We should call them what they are. These are people who are entitled to vote in other places, other cities, other countries around the world. And the only place where they probably shouldn't be voting is here in New York.
And Joe, is it correct that they only have to be here for 30 days before they can vote in a local election?
Correct. Someone here on a travel visa for 30 days who could show that they have an apartment or a bill or something, or some way to establish residency, need only 30 days of being here to qualify to vote.
Yeah, and it's amazing because when you're in a pandemic and people are mobile, working from home, going to, it's just, it's not the same. It's very easy to be somewhere for 30 days and kind of rig the system, if you will. Yeah.
This year, you could have voted for London Sadiq Khan for mayor, and then weeks later, you could have voted for Eric Adams for the mayor of New York City right here, according to this law.
It's unbelievable. I mean, nothing surprises me these days. Okay, I think it was last year, Joe. You tweeted out your Thanksgiving plans, and I remember your sister-in-law was making some rhubarb pie, maybe? She makes a good rhubarb pie?
Rhubarb pie.
Okay. And because you were Governor Cuomo at the time, you're like, enough is enough. Don't tell me how the Borellis are spending their holiday. So what are you doing this year, Joe?
So this year, we're going to have a low-key Christmas Eve at home. And unfortunately, someone in my family did get COVID. So we're going to scale back our Christmas Day plans and just have immediate family. We're being responsible.
Okay. And one more, because you are from Staten Island. In my opinion, they have the best pizza. And we have a pizza story coming up. Care to share your favorite Staten Island pizza place?
Lee's Tavern is the best pizza on Staten Island, bar none. Take it to the bank, Lauren. I know you know it is. So I will have to meet there sometime.
Should I say mine?
Is it Danino's?
Joe and Pat's.
Oh, very good. Very good also. Very good.
Merry Christmas. Good to see you.
You too.